We're live, back with another multiplayer stream. Today, going to be playing as Khorne, but a little bit of a twist today. I will also be only playing with Skarbrand. The goal today is to get a little bit more comfortable with this legendary lord. He's quite strong in multiplayer, and I do plan to try getting some good wins with them. Now, I've said before, I feel like he's slightly suboptimal in many situations, but definitely not a bad lord. And especially if CA ever nerf the Herald, I want to be taking him probably a lot more often. So definitely going to be worth getting some practice with them, and I think we should be able to get quite a few wins too. Skarbrand only, that's correct. Should be pretty fun. I feel like Skarbrand in general, one of the main advantages that he has is that he does give terror, which is pretty rare in most typical in most typical Khorne armies. Just because generally, since you're fighting against demons most of the time, you don't really need a lot of terror. So I think this is sort of a good this is a good way to sort of prep ourselves for immortal empires, where Skarbrand will likely be much more strong. Am I on Twitch? I am not on Twitch, although I do plan to get a multi-streaming thing going at some point. The problem is that right now it'll get like watermarked and be sort of weird, but at some point eventually I will begin streaming on Twitch too. It's sort of on the back burner. Let's see, I'll make a note of it, because I really should get the restream software going. Let's see here. Set up restream. Yeah, in general, there's no real downside to doing it. I'll see how long, or how expensive a restream membership actually is. And if it's not too much, I should be able to do some more Twitch streams. Now, this ability over here has the potential of doubling the damage of Skarbrand. Generally, quite strong overall, but it's very expensive, and honestly I don't really think it's worth it. So sort of to do a test, I'm going to take Skarbrand naked at the start of the stream, and we'll slowly add on abilities to see if he feels any different. If not, then that'll give me a good sense of which abilities are strong or not. I'll also it depends on the matchup. I may take a lot of cultists, I may not, and of course we can always do some experimenting if we run into good matchups. Typoko, hello. The new Twitch member rules also do not require you to only stream on Twitch. What? That's a thing now? Oh my gosh, I need to reapply for Twitch's thing then. This is like new. Oh my gosh, let's see, Twitch. Cuz I canceled my membership a while ago because I wasn't really using it. Whoopsies. There we go. Yeah, so I'll look into that, because then that's basically just a net benefit, if I understand correctly. One of the problems though is that setting it up with Restream is a little bit of a pain, because yeah, I need to link it properly with the YouTube channel so I can show like the stream coming up, but it should all be possible to make work. Now he's playing as Kislev. Chariots are quite fun here. Of course, this is a matchup where you definitely do want cultists, as the summons are so important for shutting down their front line. And let's see, Broken Leg Gully. I'm sort of feeling like a mobility heavy build is what I want to do. Like get some chariots going. This works well with Skarbrand too. And then yeah, just like a bunch of chariots. Maybe the skull cannon's a little bit of a meme. It's a little bit of a meme, but I'll take it because I want to play. I want to play very fast and furious today. So, or at least in this match. So maxing out on the dogs, getting a whole ton of furies, getting a couple exalted bloodletters to sort of have a little bit of pushing power and infantry support when I want it. Dare I get the skull crushers? It's a little bit of a meme, but they're actually not the worst here if we run into warbear riders. Here we go. Here's a build. So this is mostly I just have a bunch of tools for light amounts of infantry and cavalry. And if I can sort of play hard to catch, I should be able to pick very favorable engagements for myself. So that's sort of the plan. Let's see if we can get the win today. It came out a few months ago when they made people show more ads. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I'll try it because there's a good chance that I end up being fairly high up among the Twitch streamers. Because right now, not many people are streaming on Twitch. Do you play Dota or League? I played a bit of League of Legends before. Back in the day, in my high school days. It's like a long time ago. But yeah, I never really got into League that much, though. I sort of just played it because my friends were playing it. You always bring Skull Crushers, and they always do terribly. I would like to do a Skull Crusher win farming stream one day, because Khorne's faction is one of the strongest, but we'll sort of wait, you know? I might want to do like a Streltsy win farming video tomorrow. We'll see. Yeah, no spawn. This is a no spawn build. I think we should be able to do fine, though. It's not like you have to have spawn every time. They're just sort of more optimal. But a lot of tools in the Khorne roster is stronger than most units in many other rosters. It just so happens that spawn are a lot more effective. Yeah, this is quite a build. This is quite a build, but I do actually genuinely feel like it has some teeth here. So here's the general idea. Just get a lot of poke damage with the Skull Cannon, especially if you set some guys up in the middle, and play very hard on this point number 3, so that he has to split his range units to actually try and support. I think this should help us out quite a bit. Then after that, if I'm trading up, I should just be able to army wipe him, potentially. Or, since he's always sort of forced to stay on one point, I should be able to double cap him, which should also result in some pretty nice victories. I guess while we wait, restream IO. How expensive is restreaming? I should really do some investigating, shouldn't I? Here we go. Oh, he's ready. All right. Enough shopping. Let's get into it. So the interesting thing about the Skull Cannon is that it only just barely pays for itself in value when you use all of its ammo. But when you desummon it, you get about half of its value back. And this means that the Skull Cannon, it pays for roughly 1.5 times its value. Which is actually quite a bit for a unit like this. He has some winged lancers in the distance, and I'm pretty sure the Skull Cannon should do a lot of damage here. Not too bad, not too bad. Not the best damage in the world either, but also not the worst. It looks like he's going to be playing pretty aggressively, diving towards the Skull Cannon, but I think this shouldn't really work out too well for him. As we do have dog summons ready to ambush him if he does get too close. In the meantime, I guess I'll also, I might as well bring Skarbrand and the crew over here to try and catch these guys. And then, yeah, then I think we should be fine. Honestly, this is a pretty big misplay for my opponent, losing his guys to Skarbrand, who's actually quite speedy. At 80 speed, he does actually catch cavalry when he is getting his charge bonus. You do get a speed boost every time you're actually chasing guys. This is going to be hurting these winged lancers quite a bit. They're going to try to evacuate, but I don't think that's going to work out too well for them, as I do have a dog summon in the distance, and the Skull Cannon bait will be prevailing starting off today. Not too bad, not too bad. Look at that, a mighty 1 gold value for our opponent. I can go ahead and start capping his points now, and I think we'll just sort of cap these 2 points right away and do a little bit of a ring around the rosy against my opponent. I'm not too worried about having a hard time capturing this point here, since I can use my single entities to dodge while they capture. Happy birthday to Waffle. If only it was my birthday. My birthday's in December, though, so we are basically as far from my birthday as humanly possible right now. Yeah. Skarbrand only. It's going to be either Legendary Lord farming or just units. So, you know, I can do, like, farming runs with, basically anything. We can do it with, like, Sky Lanterns. We can do it with, like, Miao Ying, which I think would be really fun. And it's sort of just an effort to get a lot of practice with with units and lords that I want to get more practice with. May I have your opinion on multiplayer mode selection? Like, we should be able to choose between land battles and domination. I think it's fine as long as they fix up land battles to not require rules. Right now, land battles are sort of janky. Because there's just so much rampant corner camping that I feel like it's not really a very competitive mode just yet. But as soon as they fix that, I feel like it'll be much better. Alright, nice. So he's going to be stealing my first point here, but we're going to be trading quite well, as my skull cannon's going to be firing in over here. And it's just going to be a little bit too hard for my opponent to split up his army to capture this point. You'll notice his infantry have to move forwards quite aggressively to actually steal it. So I don't really foresee too many problems. You can just sit back, relax, poke him with the cannon, and it should be just fine. These Kossar spears over here, you know, if they start shooting at my skull cannon, we can even dodge too. So it should be pretty nice. Yeah, this isn't 1,300. Yeah, it's 1,300 gold value too. Not even just raw damage. It's like I've killed basically multiple units for free now. It's devastating for my opponent here. Now what he should be doing is probably trying to capture with oh, did he extend their range? He did. Gust of True Flight becoming more meta just because I think Turin's been casting it a lot. But yeah, what he wants is to grab these snow leopards and try to steal this bottom point. But I don't think he'll really be able to. Not very easily anyways. Okay, but we are seeing a little bit of a push down onto the low ground, and sort of to go in line with my sort of kite type of playstyle. I can just sort of, let's see here. You know what? If he is going to be moving units to capture the point, that means that these summons should actually be much more effective than usual. But I'm just going to be essentially just denying an engagement from my opponent, using my dogs to steal these capture points over here. I should be able to kill off the snow leopards quite quickly too. He will be summoning, let's see, it looks like a couple units of cavalry to stop my guys over there. But I should be able to get a pretty nice steal on this back point, I think. Especially with these hounds diving in onto his Streltsy. They shouldn't get too much damage. And we can even start getting a little bit of cavalry micro going. This will be pretty good. Essentially, by having so much mobility, I forced my opponent to take sort of a bad fight. And I think this should be winning it for me. It really depends on how well my... how well my summons really shut down these guys, plus my chariots, but I think they should be able to do just fine. As far as cavalry, they will capture this point quite slowly, on account of taking a ton of damage from these doggos over here. And once I've killed off the snow leopards, I think that's going to be a pretty big problem for my opponent. Nice. Good old surround. We got Furies in over here. This cavalry's a little bit out of position. And my chariots are actually doing pretty well. These Gorby's chariots did get a buff recently that makes them a tiny bit scarier. Nice. There's the capture point, so we're not really worried about falling behind in tickets at all. We'll finish off the snow leopard with Skarbrand. I have another chariot. And I think we won it. Pretty good game to start the day. Yeah, Skull Crushers are sort of idling. It's totally fine though. Optimally, they would have charged in at the same time, but you know, it's sort of fine. It's sort of fine. We've done enough damage here. Oh, I accidentally sent in my Skull Cannon too. Optimally, I would have desummoned that too. But I guess this is also a good time to see how well the Skull Crushers do against his cavalry. I feel like Skull Crushers should be pretty optimal there. But yeah, I really want to see how this test goes. Yeah, it is their ideal target in theory. I do wonder though. I do wonder how well they actually will do. Yeah, Skarbrand is really good at killing snow leopards. Really just disgustingly strong at killing snow leopards. One thing that I'm noticing off the bat though is that my crushers are very slow. Oh my gosh, look at these guys. They have a speed of Oh, they were getting slowed by a spell. I see. It's going to be hurting them a little bit. They get a nice charge on the dervishes, which means the warbear riders will get a bit more of an optimal charge. But we'll see how well they win that fight. If they can win that decisively, I'll be a little bit more excited about the Skull Crushers, but we'll see. We'll see. Call me a skeptic. But it looks like they're already taking a little bit of damage so far. Is a Skull Cannon better for large single entity monsters? Sort of. It can do okay, but it's not like the best tool versus large monsters. Simply because it doesn't really do that much damage in general. Oh, there we go. Another Snow Leopard summon. This should be very good for Skarbrand. And if you take a look at the Skull Crushers, they've taken about half of their HP. They've dealt about 1,200 gold, which is actually a fairly good trade. I guess they didn't get the perfect charge on the Warbear Riders, so not too bad. In the right matchup, it seems like they are actually decently scary, so I'll give it to them. Skarbrand really hates cats. If you want something that can kill snow leopards quickly, Skarbrand and Nakari are definitely by far the best options for that indeed. And there we go, the Skull Crushers. They've done it. They've killed off the Warbear Riders. They've gained about, they've more or less paid off for themselves. Sort of the problem, though, is that they really do require, they do have to be in a perfect situation to actually pay for themselves about evenly, which is a pretty rough situation. Definitely a non-optimal target, but decent enough. Nice, so there we go. Look at this, we have the point lead. He's basically out of units. Huge value trading on our part. And honestly, not a bad run for Skarbrand. Look at that. He did actually pay for himself after all of the damage he did. And now that I have a little bit of a feel for what his DPS looks like normally, I can start seeing what his actual abilities can do. Like, maybe we can do the extra damage ability on Skarbrand. We'll see. We'll see. There we go. Win number 1 of the day. GG. Well played to my opponent. Now, one thing that I think is a pretty good high battlefield impact ability for Skarbrand is this ability right here. Causes Rampage. No, not this one. This one. Causes Rampage in an AoE. Very strong for actually catching out different lords and such. Though this does make him quite a bit more expensive than he is usually. So it sort of depends. It's going to be another Kislev battle. Rampage is actually quite good against the forces of Kislev. And his Slaughter and Carnage can be okay. I'll probably skip out on that and instead go for the Breath Attack, though, since that's sort of much better at clearing infantry. As for the build, I think instead of a full mobility style this time around, I'll go for a more classic sort of infantry heavy type build. This'll be an interesting one for sure. Of course, chariots are pretty threatening, but not the end of the world by any means. I'll take 1 spawn here, and as it is Kislev, I'll go for cultists as a backup in case of emergency. And generally against Kislev, the biggest worry is mostly just their sleds. Oftentimes, if you are playing as the good old, you know what? Well, do I get another skull cannon? I guess I'll take another skull cannon. But yeah, generally, actually, you know what? I can take minotaurs. They should be okay. They're like sort of worse spawn. And then a couple Furies, nice. Yeah, so generally, the forces of Kislev, they are generally pretty weak without a lot of war sleds being able to poke you down. So as long as you can sort of mitigate most of the damage from them, you're fine. And if war sleds are ever giving you trouble, the best option is always a little bit of mass. Usually spawn, but some minotaurs can work out well too. See, in your experience, they've done it well against Ogre Infantry. Skull Crushers? Yeah, I can see that. Skull Crushers, The thing about unit analysis is that you generally you always you want to analyze units by their by like whether or not they are the best units. So just because something does well against a faction doesn't mean it's more efficient than something else. Which is why I for many units I say they're good, but they're not optimal. And in this case, Skull Crusher is probably not optimal because they do have a few very hard counters, which will give them a hard time. One unit only farming when? Oh, that would be quite difficult. I think we might be able to pull it off with Khorne warriors and such, but I don't want to get too memey with it because generally I think the theme of this stream overall is that we're sort of just a stream that focuses on sort of higher level play instead of pure memery. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds where we're like barely pulling in wins. But any unit that I think is even remotely viable, we will be doing farming runs as them. So there's that to look forward to. Go quad skull cannon. I think they're maximum 2, sadly, which is very unfortunate. Now, for his starting army, we are seeing it's actually quite similar to what we saw last time, except this time we do have a Castalton Lord instead of a Witch Lord. He does have his heal, which is perfect because Skarbrand comes in rocking with the flaming attacks. Flaming attacks are great as it will sort of reduce his healing. He's also quite potent against the snow leopards, but there are 3 of them. So sort of to make sure that I don't get just completely murdered by snow leopards, I will be a little bit wary here. Let's see. Let's grab these guys and pull them over here onto the low ground. Skarbrand can defend the top just fine, and he can sort of traverse down quickly. But yeah, he will die to the snow leopards. This is a pretty heavy gold investment, so I at least want to fight on top of spawn or on top of a cultist. I could also summon in some minotaurs, which is pretty nice. They're anti-infantry, so they won't benefit from fighting snow leopards at all, but not a terrible choice, especially given how fast they are. I think I will actually summon them in. So here we go, the first Minotaur summon of the day. These guys are great. They have very nice stats, but particularly quite insane charge bonus. This means that they will indeed be able to smush the squish of the snow leopards. And that should be pretty good for me. Overall, not too much money has really been committed here up just yet. I can threaten these range units with my infantry. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, no, we're good. We're good. So yeah, I'm not too worried about this fight. It looks like he's going quite aggressively charging into this fight against Skarbrand. We'll see how it goes. I sort of in the back of my head, I'm pretty sure this goes very badly for my opponent if he decides to take this fight. And it seems like it was just a feint. He's going to be pulling back a little bit. And Skarbrand's going to be able to sort of secure this high ground area. Now, one of the reasons I'm going for the high ground area initially is because, wow, he's really going for it. He's really going for it, this guy. Yeah, there we go. Skarbrand takes about a third of the snow leopard HP right off the bat. And sort of having the mass here is going to be keeping Skarbrand nice and safe. Though I will want to cycle charge with him as much as possible. Thankfully, the healing won't really do too much on the side of the snow leopards. I have the dogs to shut down these Streltsy coming on in. Of course, he will be able to get a pretty good Tempest spell going, but I'm not particularly worried. Second snow leopard's gonna go down, terror routing to the might of Skarbrand, and then I can even go for his poor caster here, who's about to get charged and yeah, charged right in the face. Loads of rampage too to make sure that he can't target fire. And I think that's basically gonna be it. If you ever have issues with Kislev single entities, I will say Skarbrand's a pretty nice option for that. In fact, that fight's going so well on the high ground, I'm gonna start summoning onto the low ground here. Skarbrand's very tanky too, so I don't expect him to die anytime soon to these single entities. And as soon as he's making his way with done making his way with Consultant, we basically have the win. There we go. Good old Skarbrand. So, sort of the big winners that I had there, the Minotaurs. Look at how much value they got off of so little time. 1,300 points of damage. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice for Minotaurs. They paid off for themselves without even losing a single entity. And in the meantime, Skarbrand was also just crushing face despite being fully surrounded. It's all about taking a very clean engagement there, and generally, yeah, Consultant and Snow Leopards are just not tanky enough to deal with that. Brutal. GG, GG. Yeah, Skarbrand has some fantastic mass. Indeed. Craven Mato. Indeed. Pretty good. Yeah, quite brutal. Quite brutal. I will say, Skarbrand is a very fun legendary lord. Now, you'll also notice in that game I didn't have any extra damage boosts. Generally, Skarbrand doesn't need it. Is it only Kislev players today? What's even going on? I don't know. It also goes to show that if you're worried about single entities, Skarbrand is really nice for that, because he'll sort of win most fights on his own. Let's see, if I do this, will that glitch this out? It will, that's hilarious. If someone locks in early, you just move your infantry to the side and then they can't start the thing. But yeah, so Skarbrand, he doesn't really need that much more damage. Especially, yeah, he doesn't really need that ability. I'll go with the same sort of kit as we did last time. The Rampage is great if you want to snipe Outlords. And then I think, let's see, what do we want to do today? Minotaur stack, anybody? I think we do. So this is a little bit of a meme, obviously. Obviously, we're memeing a little bit. Of course, I want infantry, furies, and dogs. It's like always. You almost always want to run these guys. But this is sort of like a very just like rush their face type of build. This should generally... This can combo well with chariots because he'll run out of places to send his cavalry. I will go for the shielded warriors, at least 2 to block against chariots if he does take a ton of them. And then this is basically it. Cultists are always very good. I'll take them as an emergency because we are memeing a little bit here. I do still think we can win this. Oh, I think it's the same Kislev player. Look at that. And yeah, I think this is basically the build. This is basically the build. It's like a full-on rush. We have a ton of Minotaurs. And I'm looking to sort of just overrun him. Mass infantry styles will suffer quite a bit to Minotaurs. So I think that should be good. Exalted Bloodthirsters / Bloodthirsters in general, are they good or too costly? I'll take one. They are good, but definitely not meta. As they are extremely expensive. Yeah, the Minobus, indeed. Let's see what he has in store for us. I think we've been playing the same guy a couple of times now, right? At least this is the second time that we've played against him. But yeah, Minotaurs are quite scary. They are extremely high mass. They're the best unit against... They're better than Spawn if you want to blitz your way through infantry. Problem being is that most people will bring forms of mass to sort of pin them down and to make sure that they can't just plow their way through everything. So you do have to... It does come with some risk taking a build like this. Though, because I do have Cultists, and I'm not especially worried about his ranged, I feel like this should very much secure ourselves the melee advantage. And any amount of ranged build that isn't a Chariot Doom stack, we should be strong against. You feel bad for him because you think someone that I just beat would have me keeping the same build. Oh yeah. Well, you know, it's fine. If he just goes to like a very meta Kislev build, that will actually give him a pretty good leg up against this. You went back to check on the name for the first Kislev player, but you're not saying what his name is? Yeah, it's only 2 guys playing on ladder Hadries. I guess so. Maybe that's what's happening. But obviously we're just finishing our matches and requeuing instantly. Yeah, Khorne is very easy to learn. Is he very hard to master? I guess like everybody's pretty hard to master. Um, in general, I would say Khorne's a bit easier to master than other factions, though. It's mostly just sort of timings and such. Now he's going to be going a very similar build to before, except this time around doubling down on the Kastaltin, I guess. Did he make him tankier or something? I'm not sure. It seems like he has less than before. Some armored Kossar, some Streltsy. I would say my opponent is not in a great place right now. Probably one of the worst positions to be in. He's going to be diving in on Skarbrand at the start. Is he going to beeline for it? No, he bails out at the mere sight of me moving my Minotaurs about 10 feet forwards. There we go. Oh, this poor guy. We're going to be... Here's the plan, right? He only has 3 range units here. Furies are amazing versus range units when they don't have proper cavalry support. In this case, they don't, as he summoned on the high ground. So I should just be able to run over him. I'll be waiting before I summon in the Furies to sort of get a last-second big surprise summon on him. And the time is now. Surprise, son! So here's the plan. Furies are going to be diving in onto these 3 units of infantry, and then while the fighting is going on, he will probably have to get his single entities to try and peel for his infantry. And that's going to give me ample opportunity to run over him with Minotaurs. Beanie Mash, thank you very much for the 10 pounds. That helps a lot, man. Saying, great streams, really educational and love the energy I bring. That's awesome, man. And here we go. He's going to be committing hard. This is going to be quite scary, as suddenly I have a bunch of Minotaurs incoming. And he doesn't really have a ton of support, because Sultan actually got a little bit stuck up there. Skarbrand getting a tiny bit too aggressive, though, is going to be taking a nasty charge. But now I'll have the Mino bus coming on in. They're going to be getting a lot of damage in onto his everything. His poor Streltsy are going to get ravaged here. And Skarbrand can sort of just play it safe. It looks like he's sending in his Snow Leopards onto him. That is going to be a little bit scary here. As Snow Leopards, they can trade up if they get the support of the rest of these units here. But it seems like they won't. And the Minotaurs should be able to start trading quite well into his heroes here. You also notice that I'm disengaging with them quite... Man, my sound settings are a little bit too loud. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah, if he gets his heroes in the fight, that's definitely going to help a little bit. You'll notice that I'm cycle charging with my Minotaurs quite aggressively. This is because they do really well with their sweet charge bonus. 46 charge bonus because of Frenzy. So as long as they're constantly moving, it's great. You almost play them like cavalry. And nice. Everybody's dead over here. It's just Kastaltin left. And I think we've more or less won this engagement. It didn't go as clean as before. Just because I sort of took a less favorable engagement. But still definitely very favored. And Skarbrand's going to annihilate Kastaltin. We can pin him down with the dogs. And we're basically fine. This sort of goes to show that the Kislev hero stack is actually quite weak among hero stacks. There's definitely a lot of like many other factions can be a lot scarier if they want to. Just oftentimes, people might not take as many heroes as they could. Now, Kastaltin's so beat up now, I don't really need to chase him with Skarbrand anymore. He's much better suited doing more damage in this area. Let's also see how well his breath attack does against single entities. Wow, that was terrible. All right. I do not like that breath attack. Oh my gosh. Did it miss? No, it just barely does any damage, I guess. I guess it's a purely infantry-based thing then. I'll mostly just use it for that then. Because man, oh man, that basically did no damage. Good to know, though. Good to know. I'm happy that I have tested it out now. But yeah, sort of the main thing about making Skarbrand work is that I'm spending a lot of time shutting down the range units of my opponent. Not only am I defending myself with mass against his hero squads, I'm also making sure that every range unit is basically never able to get a clean volley off. That's going to be helping me out quite a bit. Snow Leopard's going to come in towards Skarbrand. I should be able to get a nasty charge attack on it. Yep, there goes a third of its HP, or even a quarter. Trading's going pretty good, although still a little bit close, but Consultant's finally down, and that sort of spells the end of Kislev. The Snow Leopards are sort of a really, they're a nice choice to sort of go for a big, it's sort of like a gambit saying like, oh, if my opponent doesn't bring enough for single entities, they will get punished very hard. But Snow Leopards, because of how squishy they are, will generally not trade up for you. They're actually a unit I would say for reserves, just to steal capture points, because as you can see, they're getting annihilated here by Skarbrand. It's brutal. It's very, very brutal. Furies are also a great tool, just because they demand a response when they land onto your range units. So if you have every other unit occupied in your opponent's army, it's gonna work out just fine for you. Nice. So at this point, we've more or less secured the victory. I just gotta summon a couple of units to steal these points, and then we should be able to move on into the next game. Khorne, guys, Khorne. He's a scary faction to go up against. I think the Rampage is okay. It's especially good against Consultant type characters because of course it shuts down his abilities, but it's not like, it's never really amazing. Is Skarbrand stuck? Can he not fit through this one like little gap between between the debris? Because that's actually pretty sad if that's the case. But yeah, Rampage is also very great for shutting down cavalry, as they won't be able to cycle charge when you have that going. Nice. Let's see. I guess we save up for the cultist now. I'm surprised he barely didn't capture this point. That's very sad. But yeah, it's over, guys. GG. Well played to my opponent. It was a fun match, but I think his hero gambit definitely needs a looking at. Oh man. Oh, it seems like Skarbrand's Rampage hit him too. Oh yeah, potentially. I think this hits everything in the radius. It doesn't say specifically, but I'm pretty sure it affects everything in there. So you do have to be a little bit careful with it, but generally, because you're choosing when you activate it, it's a pretty nice ability. No, he's gonna touch it. He's gonna get victory points. Dang it. We couldn't clean sweep him. Yeah, in overall, I think, probably the most meta thing in this matchup is going for chariots. Oh, we can also get to see, oh, I had capped some of the point. That's not actually his, it's a coloring bug. But yeah, I want to see quickly how well the cultist does against snow leopards, and you can see, despite the snow leopard having anti-large, it's not actually the best target for large units. Because if you look at the HP difference, 2,200 HP versus about 4,000 HP. Cultists have like twice as much HP as the Snow Leopard. Basically much stronger stats because they do more damage. And they have summons and such. Like, cultists will almost, they'll like almost never lose to Snow Leopards unless it's a 2v1 and they're caught up on infantry or something. Nice. Though it was a good test, you know, but the cultist came out on top, almost twice as much in value. Crazy value trade. In fact, I think basically the whole day today we haven't seen cultists, we haven't seen snow leopards be too cost efficient, sadly. Or snow leopards, I mean. Did I say snow leopards? Yeah, snow leopards, they have a very hard time being cost efficient. Unfortunately. What's it? Skarbrand's Rampage skill. Oh, yeah, you know, it can sort of help him get kills for his damage boosting thing. But he does so much damage already. It's not like giving him a little bit more kill power actually changes how these fights play out. Instead, it sort of just eats up my money. But I still want to test him out before the end of the day. Yeah, blood for the blood god. This fight actually, this game's going to end faster than the other ones. Because I've managed to triple cap him here. It's just that the trading went a little bit better for my opponent this match. So if the meta is gore beasts, it makes sense to leopard spam. Like not really still. I would go cavalry over snow leopards to deal with gore beast chariots. The only reason you wouldn't want cavalry is against small single entities. So like the Nurgle cultists will die to snow leopards very, very quickly. I would recommend Nurgle cultists against snow leopards for sure. Would I recommend, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend them for anything else other than dealing with like really sort of tanky, hard to catch single entities. Cause yeah, snow leopards are just, they'll trade worse than cavalry in basically every other situation. His weapons are extra damage for late game scenario. Yes, but like, would you rather have a 200 gold or extra damage in a late game scenario? His axes are gonna hit for 1,000,000 damage anyways. So it's not like it really changes much. I guess if you're fighting against like an enemy Skarbrand, that could help. But the 200 gold means that you could potentially have like an extra unit of infantry around, you know? If you have an extra unit of infantry helping in a fight, they will give you a lot more support than Skarbrand, you know, dealing an extra few hundred points of damage. It's one of those situations where it's like, yes, it may be good, but it's not actually better than other options. At least in theory, you know, maybe like if it's really easy to give him double damage, then like suddenly he's just one-shotting everything, you know? Snow leopards will die in like one hit instead of two, and that could be pretty big, I guess. But I don't know, we'll see. In general though, you notice that Skarbrand actually isn't getting very many kills in these battles, and that's because I'm using him to fight single entities, which means his farming weapon won't actually even be that useful, which is something interesting to consider. Now I think he will kill Skarbrand, but he does stabilize, so it's not over just yet. This guy's he's quite a beast, but he does go down to the armored Kossars. Well played to my opponent. He takes down the beast, but it doesn't mean that he won't be coming for next game. And we're going to be getting the win in a few seconds. GG. GG, well played. Maybe versus vampire counts in the future? Like, yes, but like, why would you want your... In what game do you want to be wasting precious time on your single entities to kill zombies? That's sort of the big problem I see. Maybe versus vampire counts, because like it's such a grind, you often do actually you do find yourselves killing zombies a lot. But most of the time, for actual like competitive matches, most people will just sort of be not engaging with their single entities. Because the moment you put them in a fight, they risk getting countercharged and you lose a lot of value. Which means that like by conventional single entity theory, you always want to have very few kills on your single entities. The only exception is single entities that are specifically built for clearing infantry. Like someone like Wulfric on a mammoth would love. Wulfric would love extra damage on kills because he's simply getting so many kills and he wants to be fighting infantry most of the time. But because Skarbrand's a single entity duelist, I probably would not take this a lot, but let's try it out, you know? Let's actually go, let's go all out on the damage abilities for Skarbrand. I'll keep them cheap by not taking the other abilities. It's against Cathay. They do have a decent amount of infantry. So yeah, you know, maybe we can get some actual high kills here. It's just that most of the time it feels like I'm wasting his potential by just grinding into infantry, but we'll see. We'll see. Now against Cathay, they have a lot of ranged type of pressure that I have to worry about. I think double cultists in reserve is a good way of not having to take them, but having them in case my opponent brings in a scarier army, essentially. Emergency good units. Against Cathay, you want a lot of things to just jump their front line, essentially. There's also the problem of, oh, actually, you know what? Sky Lanterns can actually be a bit annoying in this matchup, so I will actually go for the Bloodthirster this time. As sort of off meta as I feel he is, he's very good as just a raw disruption tool. I can also start with a lot of mobility. just to sort of keep them back. And then yeah, then I can sort of round out my army with summons. Generally what you want to max out on Furies against any ranged faction. They're just very strong. One Gore Beast for the lulz. It might be good here, depending on if he goes hard on the melee infantry, I guess. Speaking of killing melee infantry, this is what Bloodthirsters are for. Couple more halberds, and that's basically it. I don't need too much else. Yeah, this should be fine, I think. More or less fine. I have some extra money, but that's totally normal when you're playing as Khorne. Yeah, that's right. Bloodthirster time. Bloodthirsters are quite fun. They do fill a niche that no other unit brings in the Khorne roster. It's just that Khorne doesn't really need that niche filled. Khorne does perfectly fine without needing to worry about that. But you know, in general, the Bloodthirster does have an interesting spot. Kugath beats Skarbrand 1v1. Well, yeah, it's Kugath. Skarbrand is more mobile, but Kugath is like a chunky, tanky guy. It's like the Mountain and the Viper. Oh yeah, that's true. Skarbrand's breath attack to farm kills. Very smart, guys. Very smart. I should have taken it. Those aren't halberds I picked. Those are regular guys. I wanted regular guys. If I said halberds, that was me misspeaking. Yeah, regular shielded guys are much better versus Cathay because of the crossbow dominance. Have I done a meme cavalry build yet? I've done it as the ogres yesterday, but meme cavalry builds, they generally just lose me games because they're not too great. I'm not the hugest fan of them, sadly. Stonehorns are basically better mammoths. More or less, yeah. Stonehorns are faster mammoths with more armor, so less susceptible to ranged. Though mammoths are still certainly very strong. And even cheaper than Stonehorns, too. That's something you have to consider. Whew, his heal and debuff makes him win long trades. Yeah, the thing is, Skarbrand will win against Kugath probably if he's cycle charging, I assume. Especially if he has even a little bit of infantry support. It's not like Kugath is a menace. You just have to be sort of much more careful. Now, here's the thing. If my opponent has gone for Crane Gunners, my build right now should be terrifying versus him. If you're ever having a hard time versus ranged play from Cathay, like if they go hard on the Crane Gunners and then you're just getting poked down while you're trying to capture points, sometimes it can be a good play to just rush them at the start. That's what we're going to be doing today. It's also quite laggy, so hopefully this does end the battle as soon as possible. And instantly my first two summons are going to be Furies, as they'll be able to help dive in better. Now, if he has gone more of an infantry style, it means that I don't have to rush him down, but he'll be at a bit of a disadvantage. The dual axe guys are very strong versus low armor. So against Slaanesh and Nurgle, dual axes will do quite well. Though halberds are just generally the safer option to go. But dual axes have their place. Halberds have their place. Shielded guys have their place. The Khorne infantry spectrum is actually quite well diversified. Oh boy. Oh, the lag. Classic Warhammer, guys. I really hope I'm able to end this battle quickly. Could you do a tier list for factions and domination? I can do it right now. I can do like... The thing is, I don't know. The tier list videos are fun, but they generally don't do as well. Just because I think my audience is a quite more veteran audience than everyone else. Tier lists seem to be a thing like that's better suited for like Legends audience. I know a lot of people do really like it though. It is pretty low effort also, so if I just need to make a video, I could sort of see myself doing that. Here we go. So, in this case, he has gone for quite a bit of infantry. Of course, I have my flyers. He has his lord here. It's actually very infantry heavy. He only has 2 crane gunners, so I think my opponent's done a pretty good job of keeping his bases nice and safe. Problem is, though, it's a lot of spears. Against an army like this, what do I generally want? What do I generally want to do? First of all, I don't want to go into this kill zone. I want him to be pushed up forwards so that... Oh, do I still not have my draw tool? That's unfortunate. I miss my ability to draw. How does one... I think I have to close the game to actually do that. Let's see here. I'll set up a note for myself. Enable draw tool in Warhammer. There we go. Yeah, generally what I want to do, I want him to move forwards into this middle area so that I can actually punish his range units a bit easier. If I were to try and dive in here, he would be able to get infantry summons right away, and that would just generally hurt me a lot. Overall, I'm advantaged when we have larger army sizes on the battlefield, which means that I want to sort of wait to capture the points. It's on my opponent to actually steal these points. And that means that he has to go into a more disadvantaged position as we head on later into the game. The only downside for me is that my summon composition is not exactly the strongest, though I do feel that the cultists will be able to hard carry. Also, another funny thing is that we accidentally hard countered the terracotta because Skarbrand is amazing verse them. Nif saying, hi, I want to try multiplayer out playing Warhammer since the first title. But you're absolutely a noob for multiplayer. Any tips for starters? Yeah, a really nice way to start getting early wins is to copy builds of tournament players. Since generally builds, there's a lot of really easy ways to screw up your builds. So you avoid a lot of initial mistakes by doing that. In general, this build's sort of a bit janky. But if you look at tournament play, you'll usually see the heroes and casters having very few abilities. And then quite a bit of infantry, especially in domination. So sort of just start off with that. Wait until the capture points have unlocked before you move out to capture them. And that'll generally give you a pretty good leg up against ranged factions. You'll see me do that a lot in these types of games. Now, I'm thinking right now, because this game is laggy, I'm thinking we will take a fight in his defensive position. Generally, you don't want to do that against players, because it's just gonna be real bad for you if you're not careful. You can easily trade very badly into this, and that can just like completely ruin you. But because it's taken so long for this game to actually end, because of the lag, we're gonna risk it a little bit to go in for that big dive in. Now I will only have my one cultist, and I won't even summon the other one. I'm going to go for fury summons instead. His terracotta is actually going to be ignored. It's relatively slow. Low DPS means that it can't really assist the rest of the army very well. And I'm just gonna move in and kill all of this infantry. Of course, the spears will do well versus my hounds. And the range units are quite scary. But if I can just kill off all the ranged at the start, I can summon a single chariot, and that'll clear out the infantry. So the operation is basically ignore everything that fights in melee and just kill off the crane gunners, because they are by far the most dangerous threat. Cultist is just gonna rush on in. He's also moving, which is the best time to actually move in and engage, as he is not firing right now while he's trying to get into position. And this is going to be a pretty huge advantage for me here. You'll try that? Nice. Happy to hear, Nif. Happy to hear, man. I am excited to see your progress. Now, right off the bat, Crane Gunner is going to be firing into my Furies. That means I want to pull them back a little bit. This will help them dodge. He will summon a Horseman to try and block up my guys. He slows down another Fury unit. But now we're going to be diving on in. So the dogs have sort of managed to slip in through the cracks. His peasant horsemen are not going to do very well at all versus my Khorne dogs here. And I even have the cultist as a backup to deal with his ranged if I have to. Now, crane gunners are a little bit scary, or not, iron hell gunners are a bit scary in that they do crazy amounts of damage. But if I plow through them with my single entities like Skarbrand, they're not going to be posing too much of a threat here, as it sort of disrupts their formation, and generally they won't really be able to shoot too much. There we go. Peasant horsemen are down, and basically none of his infantry are fighting. They're just sort of hanging out on the sidelines, not really getting too much damage in. And as they turn around to try and support in this fight, I can get a summon down. And this should more or less be the end of my opponent here. Hopefully he concedes, because the game is lagging real bad. And do I have a rampage on Skarbrand? No, he's Farmbrand today, so no real abilities, just raw damage. He'll do that, and then we'll build up some extra damage, see if we can kill the terracotta, I guess. Nice. There we go. Yeah, we're trading up immensely. He just didn't have enough guys, sadly. Terracotta's a little bit scary. I can sort of ignore it, though. No problem. And then his lord... She's actually down on the ground, which means that I definitely want to goon her out as fast as I can. Let's see. These Furies can... Yeah, Furies do great against Peasant Spearmen. Just because of their crazy high DPS, so I'll send those guys in. And then we wait for the Chariots. The Chariots are going to be great here. For sure. Yeah, the Cathay guns, we'll check their value at the end of the battle. I'm pretty sure they got close to no value. That was a very, very nice engage for me there. Come on, kill his lord, kill his lord. Nah, the terracotta's in the way, but there we go. He does tap out, thankfully, ending the painful lag. Ooh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. What was this? This was win number 4, actually. I accidentally skipped a win. Nice. If we take a look at his range units, Crane Gunners did not pay for themselves in the slightest. Iron Hails do pretty well on their first volley, but they need about 3 to start paying off for themselves. So generally, yeah, it was just a nice engage on our part. If you want to really plow through infantry, these guys are great. Furies, this is like sort of a very strong build against very ranged heavy factions. Nice, GG. Skarbrand is fast. He's very fast. Hate this matchup so much as Cathay. Yeah, Khorne is one of the hardest matchups for Cathay. Unless, of course, if you can get them to screw up quite hard. Khorne is, he's scary, man. He's very, very scary. Gotta be careful. Gotta be real careful. It's mostly because Cathay is such a slow faction. Even if you trade up, you'll generally still lose on points. So nice. For the next matchup, I might start going some more cavalry heavy builds. It really depends on the player, though. Really depends on the player. I think against factions like Kislev, we have a decent chance. Against factions like Cathay, they can sort of spam enough infantry to bog down cavalry. Cavalry suffer a lot trying to clear out infantry. So yeah, we'll keep an eye. We'll keep an eye out. And we're up against Patrick. All right. I feel like we can experiment a little bit more this battle. What do we have? It's another Cathay game. Look at that. So, you know what? Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it. I sort of like the idea of a max cavalry build. The thing is, you'll also notice most of these battles are decided before this ability becomes useful. A lot of the time you want instant value, and this is sort of a late game option, right? Like 9 times out of 10, by the time you hit late game, it doesn't matter if you have a little bit of extra damage, which is another reason why I don't think that ability does too great. I do like the rampage though. I think that has some good potential. This is basically all we need, right? I'll go for the infantry killer, and a little bit of extra damage. Why not? Now cavalry against Cathay. Generally, they can do okay. It just really depends on how much we're seeing from our opponent. Our Blood Shrine's good. They have Gore Feast, that's healing, and they also give here we go, extra melee attack. So as a support tool, they're pretty cool. This is an insane build though. Never go for a build like this, guys. Everything else in my reinforcements is going to be hyper meta, because I don't want to lose if things go south here. Now, generally, the thing that we're mostly looking for here is, I guess we're playing a very mobile type of playstyle. Lots of corn dogs and furies, of course, will still be very good. I can even use dogs to steal points in case things get really hairy. And then, do I even need infantry? Do we even need infantry with this much cavalry? We'll just go a full mobile playstyle. Why not? Why not? This is sort of good enough. Nice. Now, obviously, this isn't meta. But I think this should be pretty strong. Not the worst in the world. Who are you most looking forward to when Immortal Empires comes out? I have no idea, man. I have no idea. There's so many factions. I guess I want to test out Wood Elves a lot because I know Treekin can be quite strong at capturing points. Plus, Wood Elves, of course, have very high DPS units. So if they want to steal points, they can do it quite quickly, especially with Vanguard. And if they want to do a lot of damage, they can with Way Watchers. That sort of combo of high capture rate, high damage is what makes factions very strong. You see that with Khorne. And I think Wood Elves will dominate because of that. I want to see if Vampire Count plays a lot like Nurgle. That would be very exciting. And, oh man, I don't know, man. There's so much. There's so many factions to consider. I want to try out Dwarves, but I'm almost sure that they're going to be terrible in domination. Because the Dwarves, here's the thing. This distance here, Dwarves are going to take 2 minutes to travel across, and they're going to take 1 minute to capture if they're at high HP, about 3 minutes to capture if they're at low HP. This means Dwarves will basically never steal a point off of you, and they don't trade up either. So if you beeline it towards the points as Dwarves, you'll probably just die anyways, because your opponent can bring faster units to deal with that, which means you have to play further back, which means Dwarves basically have no initiative in this game mode. Unless they give Slayers an insane amount of capture rate, I think Dwarves are sort of doomed. They're sort of doomed. They're like Cathay with less cavalry. That sounds so terrible. Oh my gosh. Now in land battles, Dwarves were actually quite a menace for hard countering many factions. But I think there's going to be a big problem with Immortal Empires when it comes out, because many factions will lack fast capture weight. You can see how strongly Kislev relies on their snow leopards to steal points after they've taken the lead. And Dwarves just don't have that. It's very unfortunate. Dwarves equals Cathay. I think Dwarves will be worse than Cathay. Worse than Cathay is right now. Because they don't have cavalry, they don't have crane gunners. It's brutal. Turns out that short range high DPS like Swift Shiver Shards might be really good. Yeah, as a Wood Elves. They can kite with that. Short range though, in these infantry heavy factions, will have a much harder time though. Now he went for double Terracotta Miao Ying this game. I'm sort of regretting not having an extra Bloodthirster, but it's sort of okay. There's a cannon in the back. I'll probably be able to goon that out, as it has basically no support right now. And yeah, I can start using the full might of my mobility. We're playing basically Slanesh style in this matchup here. Some Celestial Dragon Guard. I wanna breath attack them to see how that goes. I think a full surround should probably kill them. But yeah, we're playing a full mobility style against a rather slow type of build. He's going to be relying a lot on his cannons to try to get a good value. And I think that's going to be quite nice for me. Skarbrand just beelining it towards these guys because his blob is quite good for his breath attack. Come on, get there, Skarbrand. And there we go. Already. Pretty nice damage boost. If you take a look at this. He has 3 kills. That killed nothing. That's very disappointing. Well, nevertheless, I should be able to pile on into here. There we go. Good smackdown on those guys. They actually tanked the breath attack. That means a breath attack doesn't kill more than just chaff, which is one of the most disappointing things in the world. But yeah, with their backs turned, I think my cavalry should be able to just annihilate those guys. Furies will rout off the artillery, no problem. Furies will do great against the Celestial Dragon Guard too, so I'm not particularly afraid of this fight. Especially given how much raw value I have here, it is immense. And there we go, Skarbrand already routing these guys off. He has 20 kills, which offers me 6% more damage. You've seen it here first, guys. That means if I attack a guy 20 times, that's like a free extra attack. Amazing. I don't know why people get so hyped about Farmbrand. It's sort of sketchy, but I guess as I get more kills here, it should get a bit stronger. You'll also notice now that my opponents realize that he is actually, he will never kill off this cavalry blob in the backfield. They are simply too vast for him to clear out, and he's actually going to bring back Miao Ying to try and support. Though Miao Ying alone won't really be able to do too well. I can also start spamming out the war hounds. Here we go. We'll kill off the Jade Warriors, nice and easy like. And then, yeah, we just start clearing out his infantry. He did a bit of a misplay here in that he summoned a few guys of infantry that don't really have a lot of support here. So they're going to be taking a lot of damage. Like a lot of damage, guys. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get quite ugly. Now, there's a pretty nice spell dropping in from Yao Ying. It will be able to do pretty decent damage against my guys, but I don't think it's a terrifying spell by any means. And if she lands in here, I guarantee she will die quite quickly. This is also a good time to build up our extra damage. 26% already, you know? I guess the damage buildup is a bit faster than I would have thought. Of course, my opponent is basically giving me free units and value here. With his infantry summons. This is basically the best case scenario for Skarbrand. He's loving it. This is just like a winter wonderland for Skarbrand. He's farming up his value as fast as possible. In our previous games, he only got like maybe 50, 60 kills. But now he's hitting for like an extra few hundred damage with every single fight, which is quite nice. De-summon on the artillery, I think that's a good call. My blood crushers are also getting their extra kill buffs. Extra 20% damage. Look at that. Magnificent. And yeah, we should be able to start killing off the terracottas in no time. I think we've built up enough kills now where we can just start running them over. Yao Ying will have a hard time landing, which is always very great. I think he summoned cavalry based on the speed of those reinforcements. Indeed, my speed recognition was correct. Quite nice. And yeah, now we just mobilize, capture all the points, and we win the game because we got insane value with our cavalry. Look at these blood crushers. 92 kills. 100 kills. Not that much value, but we'll ignore that. 60 kills. Pretty good. And it's going to come down to this. Skarbrand is getting boosted by this blood shrine. So he's walking 91 melee attack to the 30 melee attack of the terracottas. It means he's hitting at about basically at 90%, I believe, if my math is correct. And at a 90% hit rate, it means he's basically never going to miss. So let's see how this actually plays out. Now, there is a second terracotta that one has to worry about, which is why I'm strategically positioning my guys here to avoid it. And with all of the extra damage that Skarbrand has, look at that. He takes about 1/8 of the damage on the terracotta instead of slightly less than 1/8. Amazing. I'm memeing, but yeah, he's only getting an extra 200 damage per hit. That means he needs to hit 10 times to get an extra 1 hit. That is not very hype. I don't know. I think you guys are way too excited about farming abilities. I know Turin loves farming abilities, but yeah. Yeah, they're not. I would say generally don't take it if you want to be a bit more competitive. Because like if you look at this, a single charge of my blood crushers is going to get that much value too. So yeah, unfortunate, but still pretty fun. Pretty fun and exciting. He's going to throw down another big spell here, but actually that's going to be killing his infantry more than mine. This Talons of the Night doesn't do that much damage to it doesn't do that much damage to cavalry because they have so high HP per entity. So I'm sort of fine there. And my capture dogs are going to be winning the day here. As if you're ever ahead in points, warhounds with their infantry capture weight will be able to steal points very, very quickly. Nice, GG. It's equal to 1,000 damage more than 1 attack. Oh, that's true. So it's about only like 6 attacks before we get an extra hit in. Still not that hype, though. Not that hype. Still, you know, it's okay. It's just a little bit of damage, right? It's not like my Furies are able to get, you know, thousands of points of damage for 500 gold. I don't know. Maybe like instead of spending 200 gold on that, just like an extra half unit of Furies is just vastly superior. But I don't know. It's not like I'm doing the math or anything. I'm just here, you know, playing around with units. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't, man. Does this one-shot crane gunners? I think it does. Can we take a look at this real quick? Does the Sword of Khorne one-shot him? No, it doesn't. Very disappointing, Khorne. I hoped more for you. I really did. All right, now let's see. Fury's at 500 gold. If we take a look at the value now, right? The damage in about half a second has already skyrocketed by about 500 damage worth of value. If you compare this to Skarbrand, who's hitting, let's see here, at about, let's see, he's going to attack now. Wait, no, that's Miao Ying. Here we go, Skarbrand. He's going to land a hit. He's at about 4,800, and in about half a second, he's net himself about roughly 0 damage. Look at that. Now, we got to consider, right? With the damage buff that Skarbrand has from his damage boosting ability. No, that's a blood shrine, my bad. Here we go, Skarbrand. 2,000 damage, half a second, still 0 damage, right? And now if we consider over here the damage boost that he's getting from his slaughter and carnage, you gotta remember, it is being multiplied, his damage, by roughly 20% extra damage. Now, this is pretty nice. 20% more of 0 damage is actually still 0, it turns out, but you know, it's a pretty hype ability. Numbers go up when you get kills. Oh man. Anyways, you know, it's an okay ability. You know, it does decent. It's just yeah, it's not gonna work any magic, guys. Where were we? We were trying to kill Miao Ying, yes, with Skarbrand. And now Miao Ying on foot is actually not too terrifying. I should probably be focusing the terracotta instead, but it's totally fine. Oh man. Oh man. I'm telling you, Furies are crazy. This is, like, Skarbrand's ability is legit actually good, but Furies are stupid good. They will just kill anything in 2 seconds, man. Like, look at these poor peasant spearmen. They get the charge defense against the Furies. They're gonna be routing off in a few seconds here. But yeah, we have a triple cap, right? Yeah, we're set for the victory, guys. Oh boy. You know, actually, the charge defense against the Furies, not a bad choice. You know, that did actually almost make the damage comparable with Skarbrand. Oh boy. I'm one of those guys on tabletop, Bob was saying, who looked at you with disgust when you showed up with the legendary lord. Exactly. Yeah, the half fury is insane. Now Skarbrand's, he is actually getting an extra 25% damage boost from this fueled by rage, so for all intents and purposes, he should be able to murder Miao Ying. I want to give him a clean fight here, but she's actually running away. The coward, I can't believe it. Yeah, but this game's totally over, right? Yeah, the value is actually fairly even in trading, but we've both traded down, like, we've both traded so heavily that basically neither of us have a very high amount of capture weight. So this is going to be pretty rough for my opponent to steal any points. Math for the math god. That is hilarious. That might actually make a pretty good title, but I don't know. People don't like math very often. Maybe if I make the thumbnail Skarbrand and then we call it math for the math god. Let's see here. Let's see. This is a hilarious idea though. I love it. Skarbrand's totally going to die. I'm just going to send another fury on that cannon real quick. Let's see what math for the math god, and then thumbnail is Skarbrand. Hilarious. All right, we'll try it out. That is content gold right there. You can see the immediate evacuation of the cavalry, the retreat, trying to save the cannon. Furies though coming in at a rockin' 110 speed. Gonna be way faster than these poor 66 speed Jade Lancers. They're not gonna do too well. And they're going to not be able to save these cannons. Fury's gonna land in. We're gonna kill the cannons faster. Now you don't actually need to do this, but it's totally fine, as we don't really need to play too optimally here. And here we go. Behold, the Bane of Cathay. Despite being able to finally scrap their way through and fight into a very, very close victory, they barely managed to get onto the point. And what does that net them? It nets them the capturing of the point. It's going to be very fast here. Now remember, as Khorne, we're not going to contest them here, but they're not going to capture the point in time. Despite actually winning the fight up here, Cathay runs into the problem. And this is what I have dearly coined as the Cathay curse, actually. Let's call it that for now. The Cathay curse is that they will never capture points in an even fight. Unless Cathay is dominating on the battlefield, they're never going to capture the point. Because injured units simply capture slower. And that's going to be pretty rough. Skarbrand with the 5,000 value. Pretty good. Pretty good. I will say. He actually is quite the menace. If you want someone that can kill single entities, Skarbrand's definitely the way to go. Now try the Cav build versus Slaanesh. Please, no, I can't. I can't. Last time I did that with my ogres against Slaanesh, we lost terribly. That was the only game that we lost on Friday. It was a mass ogre cavalry build against them. Oh man, cavalry and domination, they have a hard time, man. They have a hard time. And the thing is, Slaanesh players, they get hardened. They get so many losses that they have to play very optimally to do well. And because of that, Slaanesh players will actually tend to bring much stronger builds than many other factions. Because it's trial by fire. Only the strongest survive. Alright, anyways, so this ability, I've been turned off of it. I just can't. Guys, I just can't. We're up against Patrick again. Which means we will still meme a little bit, which is pretty fun. And he's gonna go Cathay again. Dang, look at that. Mad lad. So you know what? We're gonna end him. We're gonna give him the swift 1-2 punch. I'm going to take me some bloodletters. And you know what? I know he likes the double terracotta style. I know it's a pretty fun style. We're just gonna end his entire existence. I think we're knowing what we're going to see. I'm gonna hard counter his build. And it should be a pretty rough fight for him. I think Furies are pretty good start. Yeah, we'll take a bloodletter to kill off infantry a bit faster. Technically, Exalteds are better, but these guys will just sort of reach the battlefield faster. I'll go with, yeah, Minotaur of Khorne. That's actually great. Over here. Let's see here. Wow, Minotaurs of Khorne are so expensive. I can't believe it. There we go. Go with the Deadly Onslaught real quick. Good old bullying people on ladder. Do I even take reinforcements? We won't go that far. That's just brutal. But yeah, anyways, we're just gonna rush him. I know he likes the single entities, but Khorne is the king of single entity fights. So I should be able to kill a double terracotta pretty proficiently. Abjuration Locust against Talons. You'll notice I don't have many units that take damage versus Talons of the Night, so I'm not too worried about it. Bloodletter stack meme. Ooh, that could be fun. That could be fun. We'll do it next time. I think in this case, this will end things a bit faster, though. Yeah, Patrick. You know, if Patrick wins it, if he actually suddenly brings like a super meta Cathay build, he will actually wipe the floor with us here. This is a very unoptimal build. So you know, the odds of him winning has gone up slightly. This is his chance. The guy could look at my stream. That's true. He'd still have to set up. He readied up first, so he didn't know what I was going for. There's no way he plays the exact same build. He readied up instantly. What is a man to do? Do you think he has 2 builds? That would be pretty hype. You know? You have 2 builds, right? So when you match up against your opponent again, you quickly load in the second build. They don't expect you to have changed your builds. And then you wreck them because they're hard countering your other style. That's beautiful. He has 7 units though, which means the chances of terracotta, of a terracotta build has just skyrocketed through the roof. I'm a man of culture. I've gone the Miao Ying double terracotta before. In the age-old Warhammer pre-release meta. So I definitely... I do know of it. Yeah. Taco, Enticity, Patrick multiplayer campaign. That'd be hilarious. He's done it, the madman. He went the same build. Oh, you madman. You absolute madman. How, oh my gosh, this is going to be brutal. Now, here's the plan. We goon out the first Terracotta with our 4 single entities. We goon out the second Terracotta with our single entities. The Fury Summon dives in on the cannons if he summons infantry to try and save it. That will only make things worse, I believe. And then we get to see truly now why Khorne is the king of the fight. As this is basically the most fighty army I could possibly take. We got the Blood Reapers with huge melee attack values. Terracottas, they'll still tank quite well, but these guys have armor piercing up the wazoo. Tons of infantry summons over here. He's not even going to defend the cannon. Furies, we're going to dodge the cannon shots. Oh, one actually does land. Good on the cannons. Another summon. We're seeing some Jade Lancers. There we go. Oh, with the Jade Lancer defense, he is stream sniping. Amazing. But yeah, with the Minotaurs, I think we should be able to win this pretty well. Of course, our Celestial Dragon Guard over here. And this is why we bring the dreaded second Fury summon to ruin their lives. This is actually a bait. These Furies here are going to distract his army. And then, unexpectedly, we are going to take a frontal engagement here. Oh, wow, the cannon actually hit Skarbrand. Good on it. Yeah, we're going to take a frontal engagement here, surround the Dragon Guard with both Furies, and that should be able to win it for us. I should be able to get a charge attack on Miao Ying. There we go. And then I want to do some very fancy single entity micro here to make sure that all of my single entities get their charges off. And just like that, the Terracottas are taking absolutely huge damage. They're getting torn to shreds by these guys, especially the Blood Reapers. They actually did a pretty amazing amount of damage. Talons of the Night, very weak against Minotaurs. It will kill some Furies, but it'll also kill some Dragon Guard. So honestly, I'm sort of okay with this fight. You can tell he's focus firing Skarbrand, which means it's a good sign to pull him back to cycle charge. And this is generally how you play out single entity fights. If it seems like your opponent is focusing something, you pull them back and then you charge back in. And there we go. Nice hit on Miao Ying. Nice. And my Summon Furies are going to shut down all of this ranged pressure here, since they are actually poking fairly well. Oh, and he heals. He heals. You know what? You know what? As memey as I am being, he is actually trading up into me here. Look at that. He's actually trading up. I guess I overestimated the power of Skarbrand. Is this it? Is he actually going to win it? Was I overconfident? Perhaps. Which means we'll actually have a bit of a game on our hands here. The cannons are still focusing down Skarbrand, but these guys are still taking a lot of damage. The Terracottas are by no means really crushing it here. And with a bit of cycle charging from Skarbrand, I think we're doing okay. Oh, nice pull away. Nice save. You know, this guy, he defended his crane gunners quite well there. Quite well. How's this fight going? You know, Miao Ying's still alive. The Terracottas are tanking it. Look at her. She's just chilling. She's right in the midst of she's in between the Terracottas to keep her safe from my single entities here. Nice target fire on my heroes too, but we'll see. I do have some hounds in here now. A big charge from them should be quite scary, since these guys have their backs turned to try and deal with my herald. They will be taking a ton of damage from Skarbrand and co. And yeah, we should have the win. Although this actually didn't kill him as fast as I would have thought. Props to my opponent. I think he actually did fairly well in this fight. Against all odds. Against all odds, it actually went quite well. Which is actually quite surprising. I really would have thought that we would have killed it faster. But yeah, I guess I was wrong. The misjudgment. Now I feel bad. I feel bad for being too overconfident now. Yeah, very expensive goon squad to lose, though. It's not an army that you want to lose, because now he basically has no pull in the battle. These crane gunners, there we go. Finally, a very nice surround by my Furies. And now Miao Ying can probably get a transform off, which will actually make her a little bit scary. But we'll see if I can actually take her out. There we go. Furies are down. Furies are down. Now he has one capture point. This is actually pretty bad for him, because we are actually going to benefit from the comeback mechanic. If we take a look at Miao Ying, you know, the cannons are actually hurting Skarbrand quite a bit. I'm going to dodge with them a bit while my Bloodthirster deals with Miao Ying. Here we go. Corn dogs away. Can I sneak past his Jade Lancers? That's the real question. Looks like that's a nada. And yeah, we'll just transition into a normal game now. I will say he fared very well. He fared very well. Now, in general, when your opponent has a very defensive position like this, the misplay is to actually send a ton of units there. I sort of thought we were very ahead, so I wasn't worried about it. But the cannons will actually, you'll lose value trying to suicide Furies into that area. So generally, what you would rather do is play very safe and play on the capture point instead. That's the much better option. Let's go ahead and I'll go for the double cap here since we're more or less ahead in value. Of course, he has had a lot of healing, but he doesn't have a ton of pressure here. I guess he does also have a terracotta coming on in, which is pretty scary, but I think we're fine. I think we're totally fine. Miao Ying's gonna be dying too, and she's a pain to resummon. She costs like 3,000, like 500 gold to come to bring her back. And now that she's actually down, I think that's gonna be the end for my opponent here. Oh, but she does take off. Now, unfortunately, I can also fly. So I'm gonna chase her off with the Bloodthirster there. There we go. Oh, the cannon shots. That's pretty hype. He nailed them with the cannons that were sort of holding fire there. That's gonna be quite good. Will I be able to chase Miao Ying off? No, he takes him down. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Perhaps we have a proper fight on our hands. Now, here's the thing. I got my hero still. Skarbrand's gonna thankfully dodge that cannon shot. We're gonna be getting a few comeback points, and that's more or less gonna secure a victory here. I want to summon more exalted bloodletters. Bloodletters are great. She's gonna heal up. That's actually pretty unfortunate. Will my hubris? Is he actually gonna come back? He's not gonna come back. There's actually no way. But yeah, I want to summon in some exalted bloodletters, and they'll more or less be able to hard carry here. As you can see, we do have a huge amount of capture weight in this area, which will be quite nice for me. I can also get my doggos to help pick a fight. And then once we actually have an infantry grind going, I should be good. Not to mention Skarbrand is great versus terracottas when cycle charging. He'll basically take no damage here. And then, yeah, we should have a pretty clean victory. A couple peasant horsemen can't actually steal the point from my bloodletter, sadly. They just don't have enough capture weight. And now we can just sort of take a fight here. I know. I forgot. I guess Miao Ying with the healing is quite strong against... She's quite strong in that sense. Oh, she even Earthbloods herself. That's pretty nice. So you do have to be a bit wary of that. Look at that. The double terracottas are back. But we're gonna kill Miao Ying. Undoubtedly so. Let's see here. He has some crane gunners I want to kill off. We will... Oh, whoopsie daisies. Accidentally selected everybody there. But yeah, I'm just gonna go for Miao Ying. There we go. He does steal the point from us, which is fine. Peasant horsemen are trying to traverse. And as long as Skarbrand doesn't die, we're fine. Here we go. She boosts herself up. Gonna dodge those crane gunner shots a little bit. And then we'll see if we can steal this point off of him. I'm fairly confident here. Skarbrand's gonna charge on in. And here we go. The kick in the face. Oh, another heal. Look at that. Skarbrand being a little bit janky with his attacks, too. Look at that, Miao Ying. She might actually survive. Come on, Skarbrand. There we go. There's an attack. Nice, nice, nice. We might lose Skarbrand here. We'll see. We'll see. We'll use this blood whatever to kill her off. Oh, she transforms. The bait. The bait. He baited it out. Let's go ahead and summon some more Furies real quick. Here we go. We have some Jade Lancers here. You know, we actually... We actually let him trade up a lot here. I'm not gonna lie. He traded up pretty well overall in this situation. I memed very hard. I mean very hard. Am I regretting my decisions? No, not at all. This makes this battle way closer. But he's been able to keep Miao Ying out of harm's way very nicely here. I think I almost have to desummon Skarbrand. I'll keep him around. I'll keep him around to be just to risk his life a bit. But I'm going to send my Furies over and onto Miao Ying. She can't transform anytime soon, so she will sort of be suffering on that front. Of course, I have a bunch of comeback points too. And it just comes down to how well this fight goes. Jeez Louise, that friendly fires. No, no, my opponent. He suicides his entire infantry corps. Now that's gonna be pretty bad, I will say. I'll say that is a bit of a misplay for my poor opponent. Yeah, that Hounds of the Night just deleted everything. That's very, very bad for him. Oh my gosh. All right. And we're gonna be slowly recapturing this point, so I'm not too worried. If Skarbrand had Slaughter and Carnage, I know. He would have so much more damage. Oh my gosh. I can't believe the Terracottas, though, are actually quite terrifying single entities, I will say. And my opponent's been doing fairly well for himself here, but Miao Ying's quite low now. Let's go ahead and summon another unit of Spawn. And then I should be able to seal this point fast enough where we take the win. Here we go. Can I bait out the Terracottas with Skarbrand? We'll see. If he ends up dying, that would be quite bad. Quite bad, so we don't want that. And I basically just want to get a lot of HP damage on them to slow down their capture weight. As for Miao Ying, she is finally getting worn down. I think we will just be able to win it. Despite memeing, despite playing into his hands, I think my opponent sadly is gonna lose it. Honestly, I would have been happy if he had won the game, but yeah, this is starting to look pretty rough. Miao Ying, she does transform again. That's quite nice. I think a Fury Charge will actually kill her, though. The Terracottas, they stay on the point, but thankfully Khorne is the master of capture weight. He's gonna be just fine there. And then I guess we just, yeah, we go for the 2-cap win. Or no, we have to go for a 3-cap win, which is actually quite interesting here. So here's the thing. My opponent has, oh geez, Miao Ying, she's so low. What does it take to rout her off? She's never gonna rout, despite my efforts. She's just gonna stick around forever, I guess. Now we have to go for a 3-cap to win. There's a chance that my opponent actually manages to pull out the victory here. Of course, the Terracottas are now without support, with Miao Ying being so low. He's pulling the forces. He's pulling the forces to try and keep her alive. Skarbrand, I think it's finally time I don't desummon you. We have to risk it. Look at this Miao Ying defense. You know what? I'm just gonna suicide another Fury, just for the memes. You know, there's a chance. There's a chance that those Furies don't actually manage to do it. He's going for the middle capture point. You know, I think he actually does win it. Against all odds. Like, look at this. My Exalteds are dying to the Terracottas. I need to get my Spawn here to actually hold it. And like, what do I have to really steal this point from him? Not much, really. Although Miao Ying, she's finally routed off. I had to commit so many resources to routing her that my opponent is actually within 3 minutes of winning the game. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Definitely well earned, though. I think definitely well earned. But yeah. Yeah, now it's a race. I have to capture that point as fast as I possibly can. I need to get the Spawn. Come on. Come on. The underdog victory, is it actually happening? It took so much effort to rout off Miao Ying. He might actually do it, but I have my doggos on the point. I'm gonna give him Unbreakable and Unkillable to keep him alive as fast as possible. Skarbrand should be able to rout those guys off pretty easily. And then if I wait, I guess I'm like sort of out of guys to summon, which is hilarious. But yeah, I can wait for a Bloodletter summon to clear off this point. And then I guess the doggos will win it. Yeah, Minotaurs are really fast capture weight. I'm gonna summon them instead of Spawn. Very good. We've cleared out his infantry. Terracottas aren't capturing there. Yeah, oh my gosh. We gave him the best chance of victory that we could have. But look at this. We've finally taken this point. But we barely routed off the infantry. More Furies, yeah. The Furies are king here. But man, oh man, that was a close game. That was a close game. I made some misplays. We made some misplays that almost totally threw against our opponent here. Oh my gosh, but I'm gonna get the 3-cap. Jeez Louise, what a close match. What a close match. Well played, man. Well played. You made me eat my words, man. You made me eat my words. You didn't manage to get the win, but you certainly gave a very good fight, my dude. Cathay syndrome over here. Good old slowest capture rate of all the factions in the game. It's casually, you know, gonna take like 10 minutes to take that point. But over here, we finally get the capture point. And we're safe. We're safe. The terracottas are gonna be over here. We've slowly climbed back in value. Comeback mechanic had to be abused. I can't believe I had to abuse the comeback mechanic to try and to sneak by the win. But it had to be done. And we're gonna barely hold the middle point. Oh my gosh. Well played to my opponent, though. That was a very fun game. We're about 1 minute away now from the end of the battle. That's gonna be too long for his infantry to kill off the Furies and steal this point from me. Oh man, but I can't believe it. He summoned 4 terracottas that game. Terracottas are a really fun unit in that they are almost indestructible. You can see how much effort it took for me to kill them off. It's been a really long time since I faced up against terracottas, against Cathay. But yeah, they do actually hold really well. I feel like I should do a terracotta wind farming stream, because they are a little bit underappreciated, not gonna lie. Oh my gosh, Patrick. Poor Patrick, man. He totally had it, man. He totally had it. He made the plays. He defended the cannons. He defended the crane gunners. But it was simply not enough. Brutality. He doesn't even kill Skarbrand. Amazing. Oh no. He kept Meow Ying alive for so long. For so long. I went for the Lord snipe. I don't know how many times. How many times did I try to kill his Lord there? I don't know, but she kept it together. Oh my gosh. What a close game. Really well played. Really well played, mate. Yep, time to hydrate. Time to hydrate. You called it, Beanie. I can't believe you called it. Oh my gosh, I'm lightheaded. I'm lightheaded from how close that game was. Oh, look at the value on the terracottas. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love his build. It's actually legit a pretty good build. He played quite well. It runs into a lot of problems versus like stalling Khorne playstyles, because he'll out cap you and kill your infantry. But if Khorne has to attack right away, it's really good. Like, he really denied the value on my Furies the entire game. It was good. It was a good grind, man. It's a good grind. What was the cannon value? I think I might have just barely caught it. It was pretty high. Maybe I missed it, though. My bad, my bad. Well played to Patrick, though. Really nice match. Enticity, do you think that the faction selection should be hidden, or the pre-battle on the pre-battle screen, so people won't be able to wait for the counter? Well, it is hidden. It is hidden in Warhammer 3. That's how it works, and it does actually help a lot. I think it's good. I think blind picks are really good for quick battles, so I wouldn't really do it for tournaments. Oh, yeah, Skarbrand hates Sentinels. They even traded up into him. And that's sort of the scary thing. Skarbrand is not actually the scariest single entity around. There are scarier single entities. It's crazy. Yeah, it's hidden for ladder. So you can see I can't actually see my opponent's thing. Oh my gosh. Man, now I need to make a clip for overconfidence, man. All right, there we go. All right, now what are we doing here? Let's lock in. I'm gonna go with Skarbrand. You know what? Let's see. What do we want here? I'll go for, like, I think this ability, the breath attack, is probably one of the better abilities Skarbrand has going for him. Everything else, though, the breath attack and the rampage are probably my Skarbrand kit that I would go for most. What if it was never revealed? I wouldn't like that, because I think roster selection is so important for matchups. It would cause too much RNG is the problem that I see. Yeah, there's a lot of RNG. Also, he's playing Nurgle, one of the harder factions for Khorne to kill. So I'm actually going to play standard here to show off how you're supposed to play it. This matchup is defined by spawn, and bloodletters. That's basically it. That's the entire thing. Yeah. In fact, sometimes you don't even want to go for cultists. That's the crazy part. Now, Skarbrand obviously is off meta here. But yeah, essentially the way you want to play against Nurgle is to just have the ultimate capture weight superiority over him. This means being able to win on every infantry engagement you take, and then using the extra value that you gain, ignoring their legendary lord, you use your extra value to essentially capture all of their points. Although it is quite scary, because we have Skarbrand, we actually do stand a fairly good chance of killing Nurgle in a straight up melee fight. Though conventionally, if you're fighting a full-on Nurgle blob, Nurgle will win it. So it's very important that we play a mobile playstyle. We're on Galleon's Cove, which means there's a lot of maneuverability. So we're pretty advantaged here in this fight. Yeah, we're pretty advantaged here. I am even going to go for Warhounds to steal points even faster from my opponent. We're not going to go for the Skull Cannons, because generally you want to have very high capture weight here. And Skull Cannons don't really provide that too much. I'll go for another dog unit, and then a Khorne halberd unit, just for like a little bit more infantry. So this is basically as meta as it gets, except this guy should be a herald, and there should be one more unit of infantry. But yeah, we're going to play this very meta because Nurgle has a high chance of actually running over us if we don't. The weapon lets you two-shot entities in the late game. Pretty good. Which weapon? Which weapon? 10,000 damage on the cannon? 10,000 damage on the cannon. Jeez, 2,000 gold value? That's insane. That's huge. Oh my gosh. What's your favorite faction among all Warhammer 2, Warhammer 3 lore? I would say Vampire Coast. I like the aesthetic of Vampire Coast. I like powder factions in general. The aesthetic of Vampire Pirates is great. Yeah, they're very high up there, but I'm also a big fan of the Dwarves, just because I think they're hilarious. Man, that game was so stressful, I couldn't even keep up with chat. It's crazy. My gosh. Yeah, the terracottas, Skarbrand, you know, I guess Khorne is not the melee faction. Khorne will trade down into Cathay single entity blobs. That's crazy, man. Healing is very strong. But yeah, here's the plan, right? Against Nurgle, generally you want to capture right away. Comeback mechanic matters a lot less here. Because the larger Nurgle armies get, the worse your life is gonna be. So almost always against Nurgle, you capture first. Noctilus Vortex campaign is my favorite. Oh yeah, Vampire Coast Vortex campaigns, probably among the best out of all the Vortex campaigns. Because you play it sort of like a Horde faction. That's the fun part. Enticity, do you think the switch from large to ultra changed anything in multiplayer? Not especially. I've noticed that you can still dodge spells just as easily. You can still, you know, units trade about the same. It's not a huge shift. And he does it. He's gone for Kugath Plaguefather. So, generally, the problem with Nurgle is that he can only hold one capture point with Kugath, and he has to split his army to try and steal another point. This means that I'm more or less guaranteed to be able to overwhelm one of the points with an overload of units, and that's basically how we win it. If you ever have a hard time fighting Nurgle, you ignore their legendary lord, and you just take fights that'll go very well. Now, of course, this means that we need to bring a very specific selection of units to pull out a victory, and that means that we're going to be going for Spawn, Exalted Bloodletters, and some Fleshhounds. You'll notice that these units are among the highest DPS units in the Khorne roster, and that is because Nurgle infantry, despite being very tanky, they don't trade very well if they don't fight for a long time. And these guys simply have so much DPS, Nurgle can't really use many of the benefits that you usually see from his army. So that's how we're mostly going to be winning it today. I'm noticing that he's not really focusing on this point, but he can rotate there very quickly, so I'm in no rush just yet. Of course, Nurgle is moving forwards because he wants to secure as much territory as possible, lest I steal the points off of him early. That's gonna be quite a good play for my opponent. Overall, it seems like we're both playing quite standard right now, except of course the fact that I have Skarbrand. Now, to start off, I am going to be making a pretty dangerous traversal with my Exalted Bloodletters here. In close range of Kugath, I cannot dodge his artillery shots, and he's going to be hurting me quite a bit as I try to get across. Looks like he goes for the Plague Drones. Now, Plague Drones are interesting. They don't do that much damage against my single entities, but they will be able to poke down my spawn a bit. The problem is that this really hinders Nurgle's capture weight. We'll see how well they actually play out during this battle, and to sort of mitigate their damage, I'm going to be hiding in this forest here. Yeah, Kugath has over 20,000 HP with his healing. He's a menace. He's not a guy that you want to fight, and you'll generally trade down if you ever think about going into melee with him. So yeah, he's a big old menace, man. You'll also notice I don't have any Furies in this build. I don't really see a need for Furies because I don't fear Plague Drones. Generally, Plague Drones can even trade up into Furies if you're not careful. If Nurgle summons Furies. So I'm sort of just being very wary there. Now, right off the bat, we're going to have 2 units on each point. This means we're going to be capturing very quickly. And I want to play reactionary to what my opponent does now. So he's sending in 1 Exalted Plaguebearer and 2 Toads. Toads are great versus my infantry, but they're not really that scary versus anything else. Not to mention the Toads do quite badly against spawn, so I'm not especially worried here. I mained Vampire Coast back in the Warhammer 2 days. Warhammer Coast is, yeah, I revolutionized Vampire Coast. I was among one of the top players. It was crazy. Really fun time. Really fun time to be playing, I will say. He's also going for a pretty hefty capture weight here. Just to make sure he really doesn't capture it, I'm going to summon 1 dog unit to really make sure that even if we fight here, it's gonna be a long grind. He's not gonna be able to steal the point very easily. And now I can just move in with Skarbrand, get my Exalteds here, and I'll be fighting off the capture point. In this sort of matchup, you always want to be fighting off the capture point, as it just ensures that Nurgle is not going to slowly steal the point while you fight. That's going to be going quite well. Skarbrand does insane damage to large units, and we are seeing the Exalteds pull back. These guys with their death heads do crazy damage, and I definitely don't want them firing in at Skarbrand like he is right now. I'm going to pull him back to make sure that he's safe, and that's why we have the summons specifically to deal with that circumstance. Now, you're going to see a pretty common play from Nurgle when you do this. He's rotating in towards the middle now. Specifically, he's moving in with Kugath. And Kugath is obviously a very scary threat. I do not want to, I really don't want him to be able to just, who gotta breathe? I really don't want Kugath to ruin me here, by just taking a very strong fight. So essentially the plan is to just steal the middle while Kugath is away. His door is unlocked. There's not a lot of guys here. So even though he might be able to steal this point, I'm going to be able to still win up, as Khorne is still the fastest capture rate faction in the land. He's summoning in a lot of Nurglings too, which although quite strong at stealing points, they don't actually get you a lot of values. They're sort of the chaos dogs of Khorne. So as long as I'm fighting them off the point, we're doing just fine. And over here in the distance, you'll see I am actually starting to steal this point. This is by far one of the most annoying things to deal with when you are playing as Nurgle. You basically never will be able to hold a capture point. Yeah, for the life of you, look at how many forces he brought in to commit to this point. And just because Kugath isn't there, suddenly things are looking quite grim, unfortunately, for my opponent. These dogs will do great for stealing points, and basically, if you ever have problems with spawn or toads, the answer is bloodhounds. Fleshhounds, my bad. Fleshhounds is the way to go. They'll do great. They hard counter toads, and they trade a little bit above evenly versus spawn. So nice. Over here, looks like the fight's going great. And I'm actually going to concede this point to my opponent. I know I'm going to lose value there by taking a fight, so I'm just not going to take a fight. Khorne is, yeah, we're picking and choosing our engagements to make sure I'm always getting value and stealing points from my opponent. It's brutal. Nurgle hates this playstyle so much. Because look at that, poor old Kugath took about 3 minutes to get here, and he's not going to capture that point for another, like, 5. Well, maybe not 5 minutes, but it's going to take him forever to steal that point. And these dogs, I'm not sending them into melee because they're specifically here just for capture weight. They're not very useful as damage dealers, and I'll actually lose capture weight if I send them into melee, just because they'll die so quickly. Another thing about these death heads, the flying guys, this is why they're not so good. These guys are bloody expensive, and they barely got Skarbrand below half HP. So I don't really, I'm not worried about that at all. Yeah, Skarbrand's totally fine. He has to summon another unit of plague drones to kill Skarbrand. Totally fine by me. Over here, we're trading magnificently. And even worse, he's rotated Kugath again. The poor guy, Kugath, he's not going to see melee for the entire battle. Only 600 gold worth of value. And now for the execution. He only has the Stooges on this capture point. Which means if I park a single dog over there, he's never going to get that capture point. Absolutely brutal for our opponent here. He's going to get some Nurglings going. And this is actually an interesting test I want to see, since we've more or less won this game at this point. Especially with these dogs here. They're just going to hold this point forever. The Stooges will never retake it. But I want to see how well dogs trade into Nurglings. I think dogs, they might not trade too well. Let's see, you know, fairly good damage on the charge, but I think overall I'm in an emergency I'd probably do it, but I would say probably don't trade dogs. Another really painful thing is that spawn will hold Kugath back for a really long time. So like one thing that you can do that is just the execution as Khorne here. Grab some flesh hounds, dive them in onto Kugath, and they have enough mass to stop him from moving forwards, essentially immobilizing him forever. There we go. And he's stuck. He's stuck. Kugath is stuck. The third point is gone. He summoned in some Furies. The dogs, you know, they trade okay against Nurglings, but generally you would rather not. You would summon Fleshhounds versus them. But yeah, no, this is over. It's totally over. Kugath can't even... He finally found a fight, but he's not even able to support the points now. And yeah, this is how you execute Nurgle as Khorne. By basically being as annoying as possible. Look at this. This is the worst, right? What are the Festering Stooges supposed to do against this? They're never gonna get these dogs to rout off. Of course, this is a very high micro play. But yeah, we can sort of just dance around here and he'll never get it. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Look at this. Dog capture weight. You would have never guessed it. Chaos Warhounds. They'll just, yeah, they'll hold forever. I think that's a Blight Boil or something Boil, but anyways, yeah, that's basically it. Nice. I think my opponent played very well though. Against a lot of other Khorne players, they'll have the tendency to throw away their units, which can be quite bad. But as long as you sort of ignore Kugath and never, ever, never take an engagement against Kugath, you'll be fine. After that, it's about finding basic counters to units. Like, you know, Flesh Hounds for Nurglings. And then, like, normal dogs for capture weight. You use Spawn to deal with infantry and toads. You use Exalted Bloodletters against everything as long as they're not getting shot at. And you'll be totally fine. And you'll find this matchup is very favored for Khorne once you actually manage to figure out how to do this playstyle. Kugath, he did pay for himself, just because he has a range attack. But because he's so much slower than the Great Unclean One, he sort of just got punished there. And yeah, Nurgle, just a little bit too slow, sadly. A little bit too slow. Fun game, though. Very fun game. Nice. So let's see how this last match goes. Let's see. What do we want to do? We'll see. We've played against a lot of factions here. I hope we see a Slaanesh. Is Nurgle unplayable and competitive? You should check out the Nurgle win farming stream. Nurgle's actually a hidden gem. One of the strongest factions in multiplayer, with the only weak matchup being versus Khorne. Yeah, you would be surprised. Really highly recommend you check out that win farming stream for that. If only to see that you can get insanely easy wins with Nurgle. GG, man. GG. Like, honestly, it's a very hard matchup for Nurgle. I think you played pretty well. Like, you didn't make any, like, egregious mistakes. It's just that I was tryharding that game, so... Yeah, if I'm tryharding and it's a favored matchup, it's very rare for me to lose a match nowadays, just because of how much I've practiced all of these matchups. Once Immortal Empires gets added, we'll see a lot more, it'll get a lot harder for me, but like, a lot of these matchups are figured out nowadays. Yeah, I did. I did make Nurgle look pretty bad last match. Oh, it's Patrick. I can't believe it. He's back. He's back for more. How many times do I have to teach this lesson to you, old man? Oh man, no, we're not gonna we're not gonna give that meme to him. He's actually not that bad of a player. He played really good Cathay games. It's just that I'm playing probably the strongest faction against one of the weakest factions. And this time we're gonna go for a different playstyle. This time it's gonna be a heavy infantry build. I think this will be pretty fun. So this means let's see, halberds, or actually yeah, bloodthirsters are good here. Yeah, we're gonna go heavy infantry against him. It's on Arnheim. This is a fairly this is fairly clean style of play. This is not hard memeing either. A lot of Khorne players will go mass infantry. I think it's slightly suboptimal, but generally this is what you want to do. I'll only go light on the Flesh Hounds and Furies, because generally it's sort of just a push forwards type build and never stop pushing forwards. This is essentially how it works. Let's see. Yeah, I'll go for 2 spawn and then like... And then, yeah, this is basically it. So, generally, Cathay will trade up into this type of build. There are some builds that will do enough damage where they kill off all of your infantry, but generally Cathay trade up, especially on Arnheim. The main advantage here is that we can capture points very, very quickly when we decide to attack. And while we are attacking and while that fighting is going on, that's sort of when we finally win the game. So that's the plan. How about 6 skull cannons? I wish we could spam skull cannons, but I feel like this is I don't want to double meme against him, right? At some point it starts getting less funny. It just becomes rude. I don't want to just like meme every game, because he does actually play a pretty mean Cathay. And this build is also fairly weak to terracottas. It basically has nothing that will kill them quickly. But you guys will quickly see the omen of the pain of Cathay is that they will never be able to actually steal points off of Khorne due to their low capture rates. I'm interested to see what he goes now. If he goes for the same build again, I think that'd be hilarious, but we'll see. If he goes cannons and rockets, we wait before engaging. In any matchup where you think you're going to trade down by capturing the points, you wait longer. And because cannons over here are so safe and will generally always get good value, you just sort of wait on the sidelines until, you know, about the 4-minute mark, and then you capture. If he goes all Sky Lanterns, he wins it. He wins it with all Sky Lanterns. Now he'll lose on capture points again, but that would be hilarious. That would actually be a fairly strong counter. I think there are a few ways for him to win here, and I think that should give us a fairly fun match, I would say. Skarbrand is my only anti-terracotta tech, and because we've seen he does actually trade down to terracottas, we want to keep him quite safe here. Enticity, do you think CEA will buff Cathay again? Likely. Like, Cathay is pretty bad in domination right now, but the worry that I have is that Cathay is actually is strong in land battles. Cathay is actually equal strength with other factions. So if CA constantly buff Cathay because they do badly in Dom, they're actually just going to be way overpowered, because they'll be buffed until a point where they can trade so well that they can get infantry on the points at high HP. And when that happens, you'll basically never trade up into Cathay, and you always have to do these waiting tactics against them. It's sort of just janky. Also, the guy didn't go terracottas. He changed it up. No, Patrick, no. No, they would have done so well. I don't know how well they would have done, but he does have the Talons of the Night. Very strong spell. Ancestral Warriors, and yes, there we go. Jade Amulet. This means he basically has infinite winds of magic, which is very good for clearing my infantry. The problem is he has a bunch of Celestial Dragon Guard, and they're generally not too strong against Khorne infantry. They'll beat normal Bloodletters because they're quite weak, but they'll lose against a lot of other guys. So yeah, we'll sort of see how it plays out. I'm feeling like rotating down to the low ground here. I don't really feel like contesting this high ground. This feels much more spacious and like an advantaged fight for me, so I'll sort of wait for this. But it sort of depends. It sort of depends on what he decides to go for here. Could discount crossbows a little. Yeah, like buffs to crossbows, but like it's really weird, right? At some point, it will become impossible to trade up against Cathay. And they will still lose. They will still lose games because their infantry, the core unit that they use to capture points, has to take damage for them to trade up, which means that they lose their ability to capture when fighting. So it's a really awkward situation for him. Now here we go. He's gonna go for a triple capture here. A little bit of a slow triple capture because he's not going for this point. And you know what? I'm not going to abuse the comeback mechanic against them. I think that's we don't really need to. That would sort of just tip the favor way in the favor for me, and he's sort of letting me do it. But optimally, if this was like a tournament, you would abuse the comeback mechanic here, basically waiting until he gets about 1,000 victory tickets before you take a point. Patrick is like a super villain. I don't know. I feel pretty evil taking these games against him. I'm playing the strongest faction against Cathay, man. But in the sense that he keeps coming back for more, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. I like his endurance. He has good gusto. Yeah, I hope he's having a fun time at least. Because definitely the game that we had was very close. Now, I'm going to take point number 1. And the plan, also he has to very, very much make sure, do not Talons of the Night your own infantry. This will hit your own infantry. It's brutal. Hopefully he realizes that. As for this high ground, he has Crane Gunners. And naturally what I want to do against them is hit them with the Furies. I'm going to go for a double Fury to make sure I get a proper surround on him. And that should ensure that even if he gets cavalry to defend them, it should be fine. Another Crane Gunner summon. That is spicy, good sir. That is very spicy. And here we go. Here we go. You know what? I could play a little bit more tenacious this match. I'm just going to go for some capture points. Infantry are going to move up right away, as the Crane Gunners likely will be focusing down my Furies. If not, they're going to have very high HP and run over these guys, so it's quite dangerous. There we go. First volley eaten up by Furies. They dodge most of the shots too. And I'm just going to play pretty aggressively here. Like I said, the meta is to wait quite a while. But because my opponent's being a pretty good sport, he's not really abusing mechanics versus me. We should at least play a little bit more clean versus this guy, especially with how many matches we've had already. Let's go ahead and grab some more infantry. There's a big Talons of the Night. We're going to dodge that. Thankfully, I did spot that just in time. And now I can grab my Furies and send them in onto these poor Crane Gunners. Now, Crane Gunners will actually negate a lot of damage from Furies by just simply moving away. But overall, Furies can still be quite scary, especially if you get a nice surround like that. They can do a lot of damage. And we've already secured our first point. And now this is going to be a bit of a problem for my opponent. He's going to have a very, very hard time retaking points versus me, I think. These exalted bloodthirsters. Geez, so many names are blood named, man. There's so many units that start with blood. I think corn dogs are called bloodhounds instead of flesh hounds. He really has to work on his naming conventions. But yeah, I'm just gonna march forwards and we'll see how the trading goes. And then we'll sort of see that even in conventional gameplay, even without the comeback mechanic, Cathay's probably still gonna suffer a little bit. Although alternatively, I have been wrong before. My opponent has nearly squeaked a win versus me. Yeah, Patrick is the hero of this story. One day he will, I imagine, like 1 year down the line, maybe even half a year down the line, Patrick's gonna come back. He's gonna be one of the best players in the world. and he's gonna annihilate me in a tournament at the last possible moment. I'll be surprised to see him there in the grand finals, and he's gonna win the huge prize pool. I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for it. This is only the beginning of his journey, but yeah, we're just going to continue pushing forwards, and you can see right now we're trading pretty well into his infantry. This obviously hurts his capture weight a lot, and I believe the crane gunner should trade quite well in this situation. But we'll see how he actually manages to steal these points now. Khorne, as the aggressor, can very easily just sort of push forwards constantly. He's summoning in some cavalry, sort of a nice reactionary play. Trading's actually very even here. But can he actually retake the points? Now, there is sort of an interesting tech that I've thought about when it comes to Cathay. I've done a little bit of theory crafting to see if there is a way to actually make him perform much better. And I feel like there's a chance Cathay can do well. You're going to see his values actually starting to skyrocket now. We'll see if he still manages to take the win, though. I feel like Cathay can take a value lead if they can summon 3 peasant horsemen and steal a point. 3 peasant horsemen will cap faster than a unit of infantry, so they actually will capture at a decent pace. But the question is how the peasant horsemen actually stay alive. So, of course, they'll need to be supported by a bunch of Jade Lancers. But, like, I think that's sort of the way, right? You go a bit of range, you play very defensively, and then you use the peasant horsemen to steal points away. It's obviously not the most optimal situation, but it's the only way I can see them actually getting points quickly. We'll see how it works. You know, maybe I'll do a peasant horseman win farming stream. That would be pretty funny, right? Where I just focus on trading and then stealing points during the mid game. That could be pretty good, but right now it's looking pretty rough. As at the moment he doesn't have too many guys left. His crane gunners are routed off. And he's trying to summon in a few Jade Warriors to try and pull things back together. Nice, easy response to this would be not Bloodhounds, Flesh Hounds, and just sort of sending them in and catching any mobility that shows up. There's also another problem here in that generally to push forwards he will probably lose value as it's more or less feeding me fights. And although he has done some pretty good damage to Skarbrand, I think overall things are looking rough. Still though, I do like his gusto. Almost consistently he's been able to trade up into us. It's just that Cathay problems, man. Good old Cathay problems over here. This unit of Khorne warriors, they've pushed all the way into his backline. They're not going to stop. Finally collapsing in onto the crane gunners. I think the high ground is fairly well secured. And probably the biggest threat now is if he did go for mobility to capture this. But here's the sad thing. I think even if I desummoned literally every unit, he wouldn't be able to win. Now, I'm not going to do that for demonstration. That would be probably one of the most BM things I've ever done in my entire life. But I'm telling you guys right now, if I desummoned everything, he would still lose. Which is brutal, because look at this value, 2,000 up. He's been doing pretty well with his defensive lines. GG, Patrick. GG. You even killed Skarbrand too, the namesake of the stream. But it looks like that's gonna be it. We got some immortal bloodletters of Khorne over here. We're gonna be marching on forwards. We're gonna be plowing through the weak infantry lines of Cathay and pulling out the win. GG, Patrick. GG. Honestly, probably some of the most fun games we've had, man, of the stream today. Really, really enjoyable streams. I don't know if you're watching, Patrick, but respect, man. Especially watching a guy trying to make Cathay work in a non-Cathay world. I gotta say, man, huge props to Patrick, man. and actually changing up his build too by the end of it. He switched off the terracotta, which means that he actually does have some pretty good experience with Cathay. The cannon is also a really good pick, especially the defense on it, but it's just not enough. GG, man. Well played, and that's gonna be the 9th win of the day. Good stuff, good stuff. I think, have we lost a game as Khorne yet? I feel like probably not. Maybe one loss on one of the streams, I'm not sure. but this is definitely the highest win rate we've had. Khorne is vicious for taking very fast wins. He got some really good value. Blood Dragon Lord probably could have had more optimized Talons of the Knights, but that's fine. And yeah, generally good cannon type. Hey, look at that. This guy, he likes his terracottas. They are really strong. They are really strong. Just a little bit hard to get work a lot of the times. So nice. GG, well played. That's going to be the last game of today. Very, very fun stream. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Tomorrow, we're going to be streaming again. Maybe with Cathay. Maybe with a little bit of Cathay action. Some Peasant Horseman action. And then maybe that can be pretty good, sort of a good showcase of Cathay. And then, yeah, that's basically it. I don't think I have much else to cover. If you want, if you're at the end of the stream right now, and you want to stick around for a little bit, I do have a partnership with Creative Assembly. If you haven't bought Warhammer 3 yet, Immortal Empires is on the way. And if you want to buy Immortal Empires and support the channel at the same time, you can check out the link in the description. Obviously not obligated to, but I get like a pretty decent cut. This is specifically set up by CA to help out us content creators. So if it works, let me know. And if you use that to buy anything, you know, let me know in the comments. I check basically all of the comments that get posted at for these streams. So yeah, if you have questions too, feel free to ask. Anyways, I think that's basically it. Have a wonderful day, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.